Hey there, Shawna Karrasch here with another Ask Shawna answer. And tonight I'm coming to you, well, it's getting night, I'm coming to you from North Carolina. Anyway, so Joan has a question. Well, it's kind of a question. She says, I want to ride my horse, taking lessons on sending him out and disengaging his rear with pressure release. I've trained dogs with clicker training and want to get my horse rideable for trails around my house. I've done basic target with him with a glove on a stick. Thanks. Okay, so what I suggest you do, Joan, is continue with, I always suggest for the horses particularly that we need to condition the clicker, and you may have already done this, so I'm just covering bases in case somebody doesn't know this that's watching, or in case you haven't done this because dogs might be a little bit different. I always like to do the bridge conditioning part where you're giving value to that clicker, you know, that Pavlovian or classic conditioner. It's click, feed, click, feed. I like to do it for about 8 or 9 sessions, just 3 to 5 minutes each, short little sessions, but I want to give them time to, one, make sure the clicker has a value. So by pairing it, we're really kind of making sure it has a value and they understand, and it becomes that conditioned reinforcer, which is what we're doing there. But then I also want to be sure we have those manners sorted out, because through that first part, I really want them to respect my space and learn that you just stay over there, I will reinforce you. So make sure you got that part under your belt so they really knows what the clicker is and he has that space issue sorted out. And then do the target training. It sounds like you're doing the basic target with him. I like to do that for about 8 or 9 sessions as well. It helps build up a good, strong reinforcement history with the training itself. They learn how to solve problems or solve, you know, the puzzle. And then they also have a really good success history with it. So then they start thinking, I love this game, I love doing this. And so as we move into more difficult and challenging things, they realize it's worked. And we always want to remember to do those little itty bitty teeny tiny increments even when we move to under saddle. Okay, so now as we move to under saddle, sometimes what I find is when people get in the saddle, and this kind of surprised me at first, people would get in and they would first click, and some horses don't look back and put together that rider on my back is the same person that was doing the training on the ground. You'll just see him look around like, well, where's my person? And that's really a surprise to me. So I really want you to kind of build that foundation and make sure you have, and you know, sometimes you have to pull them around and feed them, and pull them around and feed them. I ride with a waist pack, so I have food on me, and I put a clicker I attach to my riding stick. You may or may not use a riding stick, but I still carry one even if I'm not going to use it, or I'm not going to use it, because it's a great way to have, it's easy for me to have it there in my hand. But also wrist clickers are a good way to go. Anyway, so that is what I do for there. But what I would start doing is kind of pick something you want to work on with your horse. So maybe it is moving forward. Maybe he's kind of slow and you'd like to see more responsiveness to your aid. So each time you ask to go forward, click and reinforce when you get a decent response. And it may not be the biggest and best response yet, but you're going to build up to that. You're going to start with little increments and building it up. Or maybe it's a horse who doesn't stop very good. So maybe you want to work on your downward transitions. Or maybe you just want to work on, just pick something that you want to work on. And as you feel like they're starting to offer that behavior, and you know how it is with dogs. Sometimes when they learn something new, you see them kind of giving it to you and you're like going, whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't ask for it. It doesn't matter yet. But when you start to feel like they're starting to offer that behavior, or they're just ready and waiting for you to ask them, then we know that they put it together and they really get it under saddle. So that's really an important place. Once they get to that part, I start reinforcing other things, reinforcing just general things under saddle. I may be working on one thing at a time as a new behavior, and you can work on different things. Just make sure they're not conflicting and too similar that they confuse them, and not do them back to back. Kind of spend a little time on this and let it go, and then maybe you spend a little time on this, but make sure they're not too similar. But that's a little bit down the road, so maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, so that's really the best way to go. Now, I don't know what else might be. Trail, when I think of trail riding, I think of the biggest worry most people that I hear as a worry for people as they go trail riding is desensitizing them to new things and getting them so they're not spooky and they're nice and settled and relaxed when they come across new things or deer on the trail or whatever it might be. So a good example of that, you might work even some de-spooking exercises on the ground and then take them to under saddle. You can even set them up to do them under saddle a little bit so that you can get him, so you can teach him to have some impulse control. So our horses will still get startled, but instead of starting, getting spooked and then bolting, they display their feet. So that might be something you want to work on. And that you can do under saddle, but you can also do it from the ground, which is a great way to go too. So I just suggest, like I'll set something up and have them walk by. I could go on and on and on about that. So look on there if that's something you want to do. I don't even know if you want to do spookiness, but search on my blog and you'll find some spooky exercises and spooking kind of desensitization to foreign or novel objects on there, because that might not even be where you want to go. Anyway, so pick what it is you want to work on. If you have more questions as you move down the road with him, please don't hesitate to ask, because I'm here to help you through it. So whatever it might be where you have questions or you reach a plateau or you don't know what to do next, just holler. And a little thing with the pressure release. Pressure release is classic negative reinforcement for those of you who know what that. It doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean it's mean. It doesn't mean we punish. It doesn't mean we hit. It just means we ask them by putting pressure on. When they go forward, we soften, we remove that pressure. Release. The pressure is the putting it on, the release is the subtraction, the minus, the negative. So positive and negative are written as plus and minus, that it's adding and subtracting. It's not good and bad like we tend to think of it. So by using the negative reinforcement and adding the positive reinforcement to it, and that means we're adding something into the equation that they like, those two things can certainly work together. If there's a real issue some places, sometimes the negative reinforcement history or the pressure release history can override something, and you may need to kind of back up and rebuild it or counter condition it using a lot of positive reinforcement to make them more apt to do it, to help them to look at it as a good thing and build a new, better association with it. So that is just something to keep in mind. So kind of balance that out as you go. But what you're going to find, the more you get familiar with using the positive reinforcement with your horse, the more you're going to choose to use it, because it is just so effective. You get them so involved and their attitude just gets so, happy about it. They just look forward to it. They nicker when you pull the saddle out, and it's a good thing. Anyway, Linda or Joan, so I hope that this helps you out. If you have any more questions as you get going, like I said, please don't hesitate to ask. Anyway, from North Carolina, this is Shawna Karrasch, and don't forget to go to AskShawna.com if you have more questions. Anyway, till next time, enjoy getting your horse on target. Bye.